Good morning. Cindy Island here in Leander, Texas, and I am here in Dr. Reeves' beautiful backyard, and he is going to let us film and look around and see all of the beautiful things he has growing in this extremely hot Texas backyard, and he is making things just grow and look beautiful. So let's look around.
All right, let's walk, I guess, a little bit towards the backyard, and I'll kind of feature some of the things we look at. This shrub here is really a hardy shrub, and it's something called a Manhattan euonymus, and it has been there probably, well, at least 18 years or so. And
Wow.
I trim it back, and it stays to that about that size. If I let it go, it would be even bigger, but I just want to kind of keep it that rounded shape of that. Um,
Now, is this Manhattan euonymus available in the area?
I
Like,
think I ordered that on the internet. And
okay.
I lived in Manhattan, Kansas when I was in the military for a time. And that's where it was actually at their school there at the Kansas State. They grew this cultivar, and it really is a nice little shrub.
Wow. Well, we need more of these here
Right.
because it's made it through all of our
Yeah,
crazy winter storms.
it does well. You can see another little strip of the Nandina, the Gulf Stream Nandinas along the car
Look,
there.
in this hot area here,
Yeah,
they are doing fantastic.
yep.
So, a lot of us just say, oh, I don't like Nandina, but wait a minute, it's making it.
Right.
And he has kept them, he kind of keeps them into a hedge form. What variety is this?
This is the Gulf Stream Nandina.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, a lot of people say, "Oh, Nandina is invasive. It's invasive." No, it's not. Not in this. If you
Not
keep
where
it,
we live.
not where we live, it's not.
Right.
It works nicely for just a little accent shrub along between the
Yes.
driveway and the stone there. So you see also that the pretty Esperanza, those yellow bells do so well in Texas, and it's really pretty when the yucca is red and the Esperanza is yellow. It gives that nice red and yellow appearance.
Oh, yes. These are great complementary plants for each other.
Yeah, they're fun. And that the crepe myrtle that you can see, that's been there for a while, and it's doing pretty well. I love the way the bark gets kind of variegated as it strips some of its own bark off, but it really is a nice plant.
Yeah. Now we're going to head into Dr. Reeves' backyard, and it's just beautiful.
This is a mountain laurel, Texas mountain laurel, which you know it has those beautiful fragrant purple blooms in the spring, and it's done really well. It's been trimmed back several times. It survived the big freeze that we had a couple years ago. It's a pretty plant. I keep trimming it back a little bit because it just continues to thrive in this weather, which,
How tall do they normally get?
you know, I think they're going to it could get as large as maybe 20 feet if you let it.
Ah,
But I try to, this is probably what, 12 feet maybe?
yeah.
And I like to keep it about right there so it doesn't get too big. And I don't like anything to hang over my roof as well.
Right.
So if we want to continue on, we can see a couple neat plants that are very, very hardy. Obviously, our grass is not doing as well as we'd like, but that's because we
Oh,
have our,
I'm really excited about this plant.
this is a Mexican honeysuckle. And you can look at the pretty orange blossom, the blooms that are on this thing. In the middle of this hot, hot summer, you can see it still has those pretty orange blossoms or blooms on it. And the hummingbirds and the bees love these type of
Oh,
things, so it's great for the pollinators.
yes.
And I've transplanted this thing about 4 times or 3 or 4 times, and it still continues just to do well.
And he
So
said he'd give me a start of it. So, and
yes,
it just grows
oh yeah,
and creeps along and keeps
getting larger
filling
and
this
bigger and
space.
bigger. Yeah,
What a great space filler.
yeah, it's really nice. As you see too, this is a cherry laurel. It's supposed to be one of the compact varieties, but as you see, it's not too compact right now. But I like it. It gives a little bit of more texture, a little height to this long
Yeah.
bed that you see along here. I've just recently planted this pittosporum or mock orange plant,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping it's going to do well there. I've been keeping it watered because of the hot heat, but since it's fairly new,
Right.
and then obviously we see more of a silver ponyfoot. And then if you move over to here, you can see that I've got some sedums. Well, my dog, her siblings, her litter mates, basically, come over to visit, and they run, 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 and they jump in the pool, swim, 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 run, 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 swim, swim, swim. In the process, they basically cut these off several times. So what I did was just took a little bit of that wire that you get from Lowe's and just wrapped around it. It gives basically a little bit of structure, and it just helps the area to be protected a little bit.
Right. So dogs can still gallop around back here and not destroy your
Exactly.
beautiful plants.
Exactly. This is artichoke agaves, which do really well in the heat too. You can see them. And I've got the gravel there, the pink Farland. I think that's a 1/4 inch gravel, but it just does really well, and it kind of helps with less things to water. You know,
Right. How big are these agave going to get?
they're going to get big. They're going to get big. It's just they're so slow growing. They'll
Uh-huh.
probably get 5, 6 feet in
Ooh,
diameter, but
yeah.
probably not in my lifetime because they do grow really slowly.
Well,
And so,
and that'll fill the space so
yes,
nicely too.
it will. That's what I'm hoping.
Okay, so we're not going to go into his patio area, but just quick pan around. He's got a fabulous pool. And as we keep on going, what do we have around this rock wall here?
We've got some nice hosta, and then we also have some elephant ears that have made it through the freezes, the heat, everything else. In the spring, they're just gorgeous. They bloom. You can see where some of the blooms have come, and I just haven't trimmed them back yet. But they have a really pretty little pink blooms on the hostas. The elephant ear is doing okay. It's just hot. It's just
Yes,
plain hot, and it just
yes.
doesn't do real
But
well.
you say these come back every
Every
year.
year, yeah.
And how long have you had them here?
They've probably been there 5 or 6 years. So they just, continue through the heat, through the freezes, through everything. It just keeps coming back. So
So, and I talked to him about that. Okay, David, these are acid-loving plants. How are you keeping them happy? And he was telling me about this bark that he has mulching the
yeah, this is
area.
this is pine bark nuggets, and I like the nuggets better than the actual mulch.
The
And
shredded.
and this actually does well because when it decomposes, it's acidic in nature. So what it does,
Uh-huh.
it buffers out some of our very severely alkaline soil. Because when I'm planting all these things I've planted, you go down about 6, 8 inches and it's caliche, which is this limestone.
Right.
And so then you're using a pickaxe and you're using a breaker bar and all those things to try to get through that hole.
Right.
And so to add this extra little part on the outside makes it so that it gives it a little bit more acidity and helps the plants that like a
Right.
little bit more neutral or even a little acidic growth to do well. In fact, okay, Cindy, why don't we continue walking a little bit here, and I'll show you a few things that have done really well. These Berkeley sedges, and I like to go to the garden shows and all those things, and I noticed those at one time, and they do really well in a shaded area. Some people will use these as grass instead of putting regular turf down. They'll do some of these Berkeley sedges, and you can trim those back as you want to, but they just make a nice feature, especially in an area where maybe you don't have enough sunlight to support turf. So they really are nice. And I know some people do the whole backyard or at least parts of it with these Berkeley sedges, and they would really do well. I've also tried a Texas sedge, which doesn't quite do as well as the Berkeley though. So you can kind of tell the difference. If you want to walk around on here, we can
Yeah.
go over, kind of take a look at my fountain.
This is beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, what a beautiful sanctuary back here.
Yeah, it's nice. It's heavy. I'll tell you that.
I
It's
bet.
all concrete. So we've gone through, when the pump went out, it's always fun trying to get it just adjusted enough so that there's enough flow to make a little sound, but not too much flow that it wastes water. So
Yes.
I think I've got it adjusted right where I want it, but a friend of mine helps me take all those layers off as we try to put the new pump in. And
Yes.
it's heavy, but yeah,
Oh, but it's so pretty, and the
yeah,
sound of water is such a wonderful thing
it
in a
is.
backyard.
It's almost, even in the hot, it almost gives you a sense of cooling,
Yes,
and I think that's the nice
absolutely.
thing about the water. If you want to walk around here a little bit, we can kind of go look at, I
Oh,
think we saw some of these before, but we'll kind of look at those. I have another pagoda that I like,
look at
and
this
I
beauty.
got it on a stand. It gets lit up also in the nighttime with the lights that feature the fountain, but it also picks up the pagoda too. And my sister gave that to me. She had it back in Illinois, and they don't really have a spot for it out in Sun City. So she said, "Do you want it?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I built this concrete block for it to raise it
Wow.
up so you can see it
Well,
pretty nicely.
the concrete block is just perfect. It
Yeah,
really makes it stand out.
it does. It elevates it nicely.
Yes.
And then if you want to walk on around here a little bit, I think we already talked about these wood ferns. Here's a nice specimen of a maple tree. And right off the top of my head, I can't remember if it's a bloodgood or I can't really remember, but it's all pretty much in the shade except it gets a little bit of morning sun. And it got hit with the freeze a little bit, but it's responded so nicely to come back. And it's just a beautiful, calming kind of tree. So I've got several Japanese maples. As long as you've got them mostly shaded, they will survive even in Texas. So
Well, that's very encouraging to hear. And is this going to stay fairly miniature like
yeah,
this?
this is kind of an ornamental
Uh-huh.
tree. It will not get very large. I mean, I probably think the maximum it would get maybe is 10 feet. So, but it's been there for several years, and I just love the colors of it and the texture of the fern, the fronds on it, and so
Yes,
forth.
it's
It's really
just
pretty.
so pretty.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
And then one last pagoda, I think it's just kind of a little bit. Oh, this is a plant that we don't think we've talked about before, and this is called a dahlia. Here's actually the Wedelia, and I
Uh-huh,
saw
okay.
that on a recent garden or pond tour, and I saw this lady had it in her backyard as ground cover. So this started as a little small plant. You can see it's already starting to spread
Look,
out.
it is. It's spreading beautifully.
Right.
And you have it, I have these wood chips underneath it, so
Yep.
it just looks fantastic here.
And it's got a little bit of a bloom. You can see it starting to bloom a
Yes,
little bit.
yes.
And this was
So,
just one. I usually start with one and just see how it does.
and
I guess
I'm
the
based
last
on
thing
how it
we haven't really
survives or
talked
not, then
about
I'll
is this
add more. And
pagoda
I
here.
probably
Like this. This was another one, and I can't remember the name of it, but it hasn't thrived like the
Mhm.
other one. So that's kind of a good key is if try a plant where you think you're going to like a bunch of them,
Right,
see if they do well, and
right,
if they do, then go ahead and plant a bunch.
right.
And this one I'm going to pick up again and kind of continue with it with some ground cover.
Love your chimes.
Oh, thank you. I love the sound of
Great
those.
sound, yes.
Some of those bigger ones are even more gorgeous, but I like that one too. This is a nice little pagoda, and it's lit up at night. It picks up just a little bit of this light here, but it has a small little LED light that lights up the top of it. It almost looks like a lighthouse, so it's kind of
Oh,
cool. But
so you said you might send me some pictures of
yes,
the garden in the evening.
I
That
can
would be
do that.
lovely.
I can do that.
And
Sure.
you've got your hidden speaker here. Is that what
Yeah,
that
that's
is?
a speaker. We rock speakers on both sides, so
That's so
when we
great.
have our little pool parties and stuff, we kind of crank it up and have
Yes.
fun. You can see some of the camellias that are also fenced off because of dog traffic, if you will.
See, and I didn't think we could have these.
These have been here almost over 20 years. And I thought, oh, the guy at one of the nurseries said, oh, they'll never make it. They'll never come back after that hard freeze. But sure enough, I came out here and I said, I'm gonna fool him. Came out and gave them lots of water as they were getting, and they've come back and just done really well. This is one of the few shrubs that will actually bloom in the wintertime, which is they have such beautiful blooms. And Cindy, I might share some photos of those for you later
Yes,
so you
please
could
do, and
see.
I can
Post,
insert those
yeah,
here.
right. Here's a little, you can see the little squid agave and the sedum that surrounds it. Again, another little, that sedum just does so well.
Yes, little points of interest
Yeah,
all
yeah.
over. I'm going to be pointing out some more of his beautiful statuary. Before we leave the camellias, um, you do fertilize them how often?
I try to do at least once a year. I'll do fertilization plus soil acidifier,
Uh-huh,
and I just mix that in, just scrape away the mulch. I mix
uh-huh.
it in the soil a little bit and put it back, and that's basically
And
all I
that's
do.
all you do.
That's
And
all I
look
do.
how beautiful you've got 1, 2, 3, 5
There
in
should be
there.
5, right?
Wow. Well, I am going to give that a try. Now he has these in a raised bed. It looks you probably added some really good soil on top of our horrible limestone,
Right.
and then of course the good mulch, the acidic mulch, which is really helpful.
Yep. This is an interesting pine variety. It's called a loblolly pine, and it's just a recent planting, so it's not gotten to its full height or anything. I noticed those at Fort Cavalos, and I noticed that how well they did with little attention to none. And I thought I'll try one of those because I'd tried some Japanese black pines before, and it was just not so well for them. But these have been shown, and I think it's going to do really well. It seems to be really liking it right there. So.
And what do we have
Well, these
here?
are daylilies that are fried lilies right
Fried
now.
lilies.
In the sun, they just don't do well. But in the spring, I have all different varieties of daylilies that come up and just give you some beautiful, beautiful flowers.
Yes.
My favorite time of the year is obviously spring
Yes.
because it's not so hot and all the pretty flowers come back and you know, oh, there is hope again, right?
And we here in Texas, we don't care that we're showing a lot of brown dead stuff. We're just so happy to see the green stuff.
Right.
So you're gonna just leave it
Yeah.
as is.
I'll go back and probably in the fall and pick out some of the bottom
Uh-huh.
dead stuff. I'll just come in and just kind of pull it out
Rip that out.
and put that away. And then that's about all I do for those.
Yes.
They do really well. And you see here, there's a Mexican red bud. It's probably about 6 years old. It's done really well. This backyard used to be mostly cedars, and I've trimmed those back to allow the live oaks to kind of flourish. And
Show the live oaks.
yeah, when I put in the Mexican red bud, and you'll see a Texas red bud on the other side as well, that has just done really well. Obviously, Texas redbud is made for Texas. A lot of the redbuds, some of my friends said, "Oh, that they won't do well in Texas." And if it's a northern redbud, that's true. But the Texas redbuds will do well in full sun. They love the sun.
Now this Mexican variety is fairly small. You said it'll stay about this
Yeah,
size.
it'll get maybe just a little bit taller, but not much. And you can see it's actually giving off some runners or some pups here
All
that were
right.
just volunteer. That's
Well,
going to be a
I
whole
may have
nother
to come
redbud.
over and
Steal it.
steal that.
Yeah.
And notice he has it limbed up and showing those fun branching limbs. You were telling me one of them broke off in the freeze, but it's just repaired itself nicely and doing strong,
Yeah, it
going
really works
strong.
nice. So if we wanted to look back along here,
Okay, I'm
again,
going to
back along the back
slowly turn
fence.
around here. This is his back fence. Look at this great looking fence. And
And that fence is made of a wood that's called a hardwood. It's a Brazilian hardwood, which is called ipe wood. So unlike cedar, I'll never have to replace that in my lifetime.
wow,
It's got
smart.
concreted in steel posts in the back, and it will never have to be replaced. It does have to get stained every couple years, but you don't have to stain it. You can let it go to a kind of a patina color, and it does really well that way if you like more grade. You can see the bamboo muleys that line along the back fence. And this is a white plumbago that right now is just hot. It's just a hot plant.
Well, it's still green. That's something.
Still got some green to it. Yep. Okay. And if you want to walk around, we can kind of go look at some of the
Okay,
rock
you go
beds.
ahead.
Okay. I wished I had taken that one out, but I didn't. You can see we've got different varieties of plants. This is actually a Blackfoot daisy that came back. It's not doing great right now, but it will come back every year, a Blackfoot daisy. And it has some beautiful white and black blooms on it when it blooms. And then next door to that, you can see these four-nerve daisies. These have
Oh,
such beautiful
yeah.
yellow blooms. And you can see there were a lot of them on there when it was a little bit less hot and a little more watered. But they just continue to spread throughout the rock bed, which is kind of fun. Creeping germander there you can see going on. Again, it's a little thirsty, but the cactus, the spineless prickly pear, actually has done really well.
Oh, yes. Let me
And
point
actually,
this out. This is a spineless prickly pear.
and you know what
So,
I did with that one?
what?
We had some of those in our neighborhood beds in our common areas, and I just cracked off one of the little leaves off of it, and you cut it off at the top and you bury it, and you put it in a plant for like a year, and then you actually plant it, and that's what it's become.
Huh.
That just came off of
Well,
one.
they're a lot of fun, and I
Yeah.
just love their unique shapes.
Oh, I know. It's really fun. Yep. And I love the yellow, not red yuccas, but the yellow yuccas,
Wow.
which are really pretty too.
Yes.
And you can see there's another Mexican redbud kind of popping in there.
Yes.
So here we see some black dahlia and some more of the sedum. Look at the sedum's
Oh,
actually
look
blooming.
at that.
Look at that. That's really
Yes.
pretty. But this is called the black dahlia, and it's relatively new. I've just planted it this year, so it's starting to take off, and I've got three of those in the area mixed in with the four-nerve daisies that you'll see. Again, a little bit more sedum that's come back. Look at this. I'll
Look
be
at that.
darned.
And
Look at that.
I am going to insert a photo of what this black dahlia, Texas black dahlia, looks like.
Right,
It's not going to be the dahlia that you're thinking of maybe in Maine, but
right,
it'll be beautiful.
right. Here's a catmint. This is another one I just recently planted. and it's surviving. And that's all I can ask right now in this brutal July heat is that, especially we've had trouble being able to water, and so you'll see that this is still hanging in there, and
Yeah,
that's the bottom line on
yeah,
some of these
it's
plants.
hanging in there.
Yep, yep. And then you see the big shrub there is a thoryllis, which has those little
Uh-huh.
yellow blooms that are so
I'll show
pretty.
you. I have one of these, and I just love it. Mine is, getting bigger and bigger.
And this is a type of primrose. It's really in the early spring. It has just a whole bunch of beautiful yellow blooms on it. Right now it looks like fried, but in the springtime it just comes out and is really beautiful. So it's a beautiful
Yeah, it says
variety.
half green and half fried, and
Yeah,
that's good here.
yeah, that's good. Here, we'll buy that. Right.
We'll buy that.
This tree, remember I talked about the Texas redbuds, and this is a Texas redbud. Look how pretty this tree has become.
Beautiful.
And it's probably only about 5 years old, actually. So
Wow, it grew this big in
it grew
5 years.
this big in 5 years. Yep.
Whoa. So this is fairly small tree.
Yeah, it will get
Not going to get.
bigger. It'll get a little bit bigger, but it's really done well for the area. You can see it's stressed again. Everything's stressed right now,
Mhm.
but it does really well. So I'm pleased with it too.
Okay, here
We're-
we come to the rose section.
yeah. So here we've got kind of a climbing iceberg rose, and it really is beautiful in the springtime. It's just covered with white blooms all along here. And just recently I said, let's do a little bit of star jasmine, and we'll put that on the inside so that it'll accompany, so we'll have the beautiful blooms on the outside, and then the star jasmine as it grows will get bigger along there
Yeah.
and give that beautiful white blooms as well. So you see some of the roses along here, and these are different varieties. The one that I really, really love, and I wish I had some blooms to show you today other than the ones that have gone bad, but um, these are called Belinda's Dream. And I looked at the different areas of Texas, and I'd go to some different gardens and look, and this was the only one that consistently looked good in the heat of the summer. Some of the other ones I've tried, and they just don't do well. But these Belinda's Dreams just are beautiful when they're blooming, a beautiful pink bloom with a very fragrant scent to it. It's really nice.
So spring and fall, you're going to see the blooms.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
is this drip system watered?
No, this is actually sprinkler. I
Okay.
would like to convert it all to drip, and
Uh-huh.
I'm going to get there, but it's just time and money.
Right. Absolutely.
Time and money.
And these two, you said, were
This is
a little
actually a
different.
Marie Prevost. It's almost akin to a drift rose. It has
Oh,
really pretty little white blooms that bloom, and there's a couple of those. There's this one here, and then there's one on the other side, up on the other side of the
okay.
statue.
Well, I
Statuary.
cannot wait to see what this beautiful rose garden looks like in the fall, covered with those pink blooms.
If we walk over here, we see another rock bed. And you can see the rocks are a little bit larger in my rock beds. I wanted to make them a little bit bigger than my steps. But look at the rock roses you see. Look at all those beautiful rock roses that have just blossomed and actually spread a little bit throughout the bed. They're huge, and they just do well in the summer, so well. And you can see they're just, the beautiful blooms that are on those.
Goes all the way across the whole bed. It's
It sure
this,
does.
and did you plant several or did it self-spread?
Well, there was probably one, two, three, maybe four I planted, and all the rest of it's just spread. And then you can see here's just some that have propagated in the
Yeah,
area.
here's.
I wanted to mention too these agaves. These are special, called the Harvard agave. In fact, here's a little thing I got left on it. It's a Harvard agave, and it is a cold hardy agave, which is really different because
Yeah.
most of our century plants or that we have in this area really will die back in the winter, become like a mush. This one does not. This one is cold hardy, and it was actually propagated for that at Harvard, and so that's why it's called a Harvard agave. You can get those online. I
Okay.
don't think the nurseries around here will have them. I have them special ordered,
Okay.
but they do real well, and you can see there's like 3 of them back here.
So we're under the shade of this beautiful redbud tree, and what do we have here?
These are some more camellias. I was trying to mirror the other side, and these are probably only 2 years old. Unfortunately, I planted them right before our big freeze a couple years ago, and some of them didn't do very well, but most of them still are hanging in. And like I said before, that the nice thing about these is they'll bloom in the wintertime, which is unusual. And most everything doesn't bloom in wintertime. So it's nice to have something that kind of
Yes.
shows life in the middle of winter.
Oh, yes. And another little pagoda with a
Yep.
lighting.
It has a light in it and also showing it, lighting it up
Yeah.
too. So it's kind of nice.
And some crepe myrtles here on the side.
And this is
These
what
are
they call a
pink.
lemon ball tree, which is a native Texas tree here. Um,
So
after,
repeat that again, David. I wasn't quite.
it's called a yellow
Yeah.
ball tree.
Okay. A
Yellow
yellow
ball
ball
tree.
tree.
Uh-huh. And it basically is supposed to, it's a native Texan tree. I first saw it out at the Texas Ladybird Wildflower Center. I thought that's a neat tree because it had little yellow balls on it. It had just rained. So supposedly when it just rains, it's supposed to form these little yellow balls on it, and it will just be a little pretty yellow pop of color after a nice rain. So we'll see.
Well, that's fun. We'll have to keep an eye on that and come back
Yes,
and look at that year after year.
that'll be fun. Yeah. I guess the last part of our little gardening tour today would be to look at some of the giant leopard plants. They have that beautiful yellow flower on them in the fall, if it's not too hot. So we'll
Right.
see how it does this year. I try to give them water more than I do some of the other plants because they like a shade, and they're doing okay right here.
Show with your hand how big they are. Put your hand
Yeah,
down there so
yeah. Let's
people
show
can
you
realize
so you can see the
they're
size of those.
huge.
Yeah, they're nice size blooms.
And they love Texas limestone,
Yes, they do. They do.
but you do have to water them, right?
You have to water them, and they like the shade. Again,
And the shade. This
the
is a
fencing
shade
around
plant.
again is dog proof because if you have animals, you have to be careful because those are toxic to animals. So if they have
Okay.
a tendency to want to chew on them,
Okay, if you have
that can be an
puppies,
issue.
this might be an issue, but he's got this nice fence around him for everyone's protection.
Yep, exactly.
That's so great.
So Cindy, I think that's probably about it. We've seen the whole ball of goods here. I'm thankful that you would come and visit with me and like allow me to show all my 20 years of labor.
Yes.
And it's fun to do it. It does take a lot of work, but it's all good. It's all fun.
Well, thank you so much for allowing us to come back here and pry into your backyard. It has just been wonderful. And I hope you'll let me come back again and show things maybe in the fall
Or
and
the
in the
spring,
spring.
yeah, when it's all in bloom and not so crusty.
Yes, so you don't have to feel too sorry for us Texans here in the blazing, scorching heat. We're actually making
We are.
it. All right, have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.